WWE unbans a controversial backstage activity, plus the real reason behind a recent NXT Star departure, and released SmackDown stars are teasing an Impact debut. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Lots of things changed behind the scenes in WWE over the years, and it seems as if a backstage activity within WWE has now been banned as well. Fightful Select is saying that talent have told Fightful that there have been no suspensions for partaking in the devil's lettuce for a while now. We have to be very careful about this because YouTube doesn't like us talking about such things, so you'll have to work around some of the fun dialect that we use in this story. WWE talent have told Fightful that they've not been suspended for devil's lettuce use in years, a progressive change from the policy that existed previously. In the past, WWE wouldn't suspend for partaking of Ted Mosley's favourite sandwich, but a huge fine would be levied against talent for testing positive. At least one wrestler we spoke to said that they still get tested for everything, but they just don't get fined for a cheeky, sneaky rolly anymore. The sticky, icky aspect of WWE's wellness policy was rumoured to have been quietly removed, but it's still listed on WWE's corporate site. WWE's policy against purple haze received pushback from stars all the way back to the 90s. Bret Hart was very outspoken against it, saying that it was a safer alternative than other ways many wrestlers chose to cope with the rigors of the road. However, we're told before the policy was redacted, Randy Orton was an integral figure in influencing change on the main roster. Unsurprisingly, we were also told that Riddle was outspoken on NXT, as well as Conan Reeves when he was still part of the company. One higher up, see what you did, Sean, was on the condition of anonymity. And he went on record to say, I haven't even heard anyone as much as gossip over one of the boys or girls having a chat with Spider-Man's girlfriend in years, much less a fine for being handed down for it. A lot of the perception has changed, and a lot of what Bret was talking about way back when ended up ringing true. I don't expect us to come out with WWE-themed wacko tobacco anytime soon, but the policy's been relaxed, and we've used a lot of that culture in our storylines. Incidentally, yesterday, as it was, 20th of April, do the dance. A t-shirt was released yesterday with RK Bro 420 on it, celebrating hashtag 420 day. You hungry?
Sorry, I just thought I'd let you blaze through that, just that news story there.
Thank you, matey.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome.
Roll one out for Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, who smoked that for us. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad historically for Rob Van Dam in 2006.
Oh my goodness, the man was on top of the world at that point, wasn't he?
He was very high at that point.
He was riding high, all right. He was riding high.
Well, anyway, moving on to other stories. Then we'll all go get some... I really want some bagels. What about you?
I'd love some bagels. Some Doritos as well. Ooh.
What a great pattern on the table. NXT Star departed. We talked about this yesterday, didn't we? It's Kushida.
We did. Yes.
And it's one of those releases where it's just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, as you were saying, it very underutilized in NXT. I think that's no surprise to anybody, really. Well, I mean, it was a surprise. I mean, it's just a shame that actually that happened because a lot of potential. Kushida's an incredible wrestler. Like, for WWE to just not use him in the right capacity, it's such a shame. That's what I was looking for. Such a shame.
It is a shame. Voices of Wrestling on their Patreon page say that Kushida has been in conversation with New Japan for a little while, even before the announcement that he was away, and they've been making plans for what he was going to come back and do. So some of those pitches for Kushida include getting completely repackaged, so losing all the Back to the Future stuff, which I'd be sad about.
Yeah,
I
me
like
too.
Time Splitter Kushida.
Yeah, me too. It suits him a lot. That's what because I never really was too familiar with New Japan and whatnot beforehand, but when he came into NXT and he had all his jacket and everything on, I was like, that's kind of cool, that.
I was worried you were going to say, I wasn't that familiar with Back to the Future.
No. Whoa, come on now. We were
going to fall out, Marty.
Come on now.
So a repackage in there. Also, a heel return coming back in a faction comprising of heels, whether that would be entering an existing bad guy team or maybe starting one around him.
Yeah.
Also coming back in terms of, again, this comes back to repackaging. There were conversations about Kushida working an MMA style gimmick instead. Like, he's got the wrestling chops to certainly do an excellent job at that.
That'd be quite cool, actually. I kind of like to see that. Yeah.
The big one was something that Fraser mentioned yesterday in the news, which is that graduation up from junior heavyweight to heavyweight for Kushida. Something that Will Ospreay did, something that the Young Bucks did in the tag division. I think Kushida very much worthy of being put into that top contendership for the IWGP title.
Well, like what I've heard, he's kind of, it seems as though he's kind of done everything in the junior heavyweight division, right? So like, I think to move on to the heavyweight division would be pretty damn cool.
It would be really, really good to see. The switch over to NXT's 2.0 presentation, according to the Voices of Wrestling Patreon page, was the main reason for his departure from WWE. The report says that Kushida frequently expressed displeasure with the way he had been used since the change to 2.0. So whilst he wasn't, doing the best work he could do before the black and gold was replaced by splatters, it was even more so when it changed. So that change to 2.0 has just left him going, nah, I'm good to go, I'm done.
I think that's fair enough. I mean, there's certain people, and I thought, he kind of, the way with the Back to the Future stuff and then being paired with Jiro and everything, it kind of worked in that sense, but then, as probably as a wrestler, maybe it just doesn't fit in with how you sort of perceive yourself and how you want to be perceived as well. Like, it was a huge just change in terms of character and everything, wasn't it, when 2.0 came into prominence more than the black and gold stuff, and yeah, I can see why he'd be displeased with being able to fit into that.
Yeah, exactly. One to keep an eye on, especially with, as we talked about yesterday in the last video, the announcement of the Forbidden Door show with New Japan, Kushida potentially being a part of that. Imagine
if, I think so, imagine if they did that. Would that be a huge slap in the face to NXT if they brought him into AEW for the Super Show and then was like, this is how you use him? This is him.
Maybe a slap on the face to NXT, but certainly a kiss on the mouth for all wrestling fans.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Good to see him doing his thing.
Yes.
SmackDown flavored news. Tomorrow they're taping 2 episodes.
Nice.
Because they're hitting Europe. They're doing a tour of Europe. So they're instead of taping a show, I mean, oh come on, you're doing the Utilita the night before. You did the Utilita a week today in Newcastle. Could have done SmackDown there, you cowards.
That would have been so good.
And they haven't been back there since it was the Telly West. And they did, I think it was Insurrection there in 2003.
Really? Wow.
We had a UK-only pay-per-view from Newcastle.
Yeah.
That time, but we're not doing that. No. So the second episode is going to air next Friday while the brand are in Europe. This comes from Fightful Select, by the way. Thank you for that. So they're going to tape 2 back-to-back, and we'll have some details on what comes with some spoilers, no doubt, over the weekend for that too. I had a lovely chat with Drew McIntyre yesterday.
You're like best friends at this point with Drew.
Me and Drew are just
way back.
The Bezzy of best friends. You'll hear it and you'll see it on the Cultaholic channel over the weekend. Do you reckon Drew McIntyre is up for claymoring Paul Gascoigne or Alan Shearer?
Both of them at the same time.
Wow.
Double Claymore.
We'll find out because I pitched him a few Geordie and Northeast legends to see whether or not he would either team with them or beat them up.
Oh, that's good.
We invented a game called Claymore or Clayless.
Oh, Thomas, your mind is incredible.
It's very sleepy, my mind. But me and Drew have a chat over the weekend, so look forward to that dropping on the YouTube channel from Cultaholic and on the podcast feed as well. We'll end on another bit of SmackDown news. Some released SmackDown stars hinting at heading over to Impact. Who are we talking about, Andrew?
We're talking about WWE's Top Dollar. So AJ Francis was talking on the latest episode of Unscripted and said he was asked, whether or not he'd consider wrestling for Impact. and he said, nobody knows this, but we did WrestleCon at WrestleMania and Impact was at the hotel. And I'm just saying that there was some very good conversations had. There's still things that need to be looked at and worked out, and a lot of discussions that still need to be had, but the hit makers were in the building. Ooh-wee.
I could see them turning up and doing some nice things in Impact Wrestling.
Me too. Well, we've seen them on GCW as well recently, haven't we too? And I'm so glad that they're sticking together, because I thought they were a very good team on NXT. Shame we didn't really see them on SmackDown, because I think they would have fit into the SmackDown landscape quite well. Shame as well that Swerve Strickland's not there with them still, but you know, I really like them as a team together, and I think they would very much suit Impact.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. We would like to see that as a thing. One to keep an eye on, and more news throughout the day you will find at cultaholic.com. Until we're back together, Keys.
Blaze the weekly Mary Jane. Can't say the word. There you go.
I think you styled it out, mate.
Thank you.
Love you. Hi.